Behind Closed Doors, The Secret Life of Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla. When you hear that name today, chances are it conjures images of futuristic electric cars, or perhaps brilliant flashes of light illuminating the night sky. But to truly understand Tesla, we need to go back to a time when the world was on the brink of a revolution, a time when electricity was still a mystery to most, and one man dared to unravel it all. Tesla wasn't just a scientist. He wasn't just an inventor. He was a visionary, a man whose ideas were so far ahead of his time that, at times, even he struggled to keep up. But behind the patents, behind the scientific journals, and the dazzling public demonstrations, there was another Tesla, the private man whose life was filled with strange rituals, deep loneliness, and perhaps most fascinating of all, a mind so profound it could almost touch the realm of the divine. So, come with me now. Let's step behind closed doors and explore the secret life of one of history's most enigmatic figures, Nikola Tesla. Chapter 1. The Boy Who Spoke in Lightning. Nikola Tesla was born on July 10th, 1856, in the small village of Smiljan, in what is now Croatia. His birth, as legend has it, occurred during a violent lightning storm. The midwife, fearing it was a bad omen, reportedly said, "This is not a good sign." But Tesla's mother, who, unlike most people of the time, was deeply intuitive, dismissed this, proclaiming, "No, this child will be a child of light." And indeed, he was. From a very young age, Tesla exhibited signs of extraordinary intellect. He could memorize entire books and recite them verbatim. He learned languages with ease, even mastering them with a fluency that astounded those around him. But perhaps most remarkable of all was his ability to visualize complex machinery in his mind's eye with perfect clarity, to the point where he rarely needed to draw out plans for his inventions. It was as though the machines already existed in his mind, waiting to be born into the world. But there was another side to Tesla, one not often spoken of. He was haunted by vivid hallucinations and sensory overloads. He described seeing bursts of light and feeling strange sensations that sometimes overwhelmed him. A voice, sometimes gentle, sometimes sharp, would often fill his head with ideas that seemed to come from another world. This unusual sensitivity to stimuli, combined with his extraordinary mental faculties, would become a hallmark of his entire life. Chapter 2. The Spark That Ignited a Revolution. As Tesla matured, so did his obsession with electricity. After completing his studies, he left Europe for the United States in 1884, arriving with little more than a letter of recommendation from a former professor and 4 cents in his pocket. But this humble beginning was the spark that would set the world on fire. Upon arriving in New York City, Tesla's first meeting with Thomas Edison, the famed inventor behind the incandescent light bulb, would change the course of history. Edison, the established giant of the time, was a staunch believer in direct current, DC, a system that was already in use to power many electrical devices. But Tesla had a different idea. He believed in alternating current, AC, a system that allowed for the transmission of electricity over much greater distances, more efficiently, and with less energy loss. At first, Edison dismissed Tesla's ideas as impractical. He mocked AC, calling it dangerous, and even going so far as to stage public demonstrations to prove that it was deadly, using it to electrocute animals in front of an audience. But Tesla, relentless in his pursuit of truth, stood firm in his belief. In time, Tesla found an ally in industrialist George Westinghouse, who, like Tesla, saw the potential of AC. Together, they fought to prove that AC was the way of the future, and they succeeded. In 1893, Tesla's AC system lit up the World's Fair in Chicago, the first time in history that a major city was powered entirely by alternating current. It was a moment of triumph for Tesla, but for Edison, it was a humiliating defeat. Chapter 3: Wardenclyffe, the Tower of Dreams. Tesla's dreams, however, were far from finished. In fact, his mind was always racing ahead, constantly seeking the next great challenge. And it was this relentless drive that led him to one of his most ambitious projects, the Wardenclyffe Tower. Wardenclyffe was not just a transmission tower, it was Tesla's vision for a world where wireless communication and power could be transmitted freely and without the need for wires. Imagine a world where electricity could be sent through the air, where you could transmit not just power, but information, voice, images, data, all across the globe. But Tesla's grand dream was not without its obstacles. In order to fund his project, he turned to one of the wealthiest men of the time, J.P. Morgan. At first, Morgan was intrigued, but when Tesla revealed the true nature of his plan, that he intended to provide free energy to the entire world, Morgan's enthusiasm quickly turned to skepticism. How could Tesla possibly make money from a system that gave away energy for free? To Morgan, it was a foolish idea, a dream that could never come to fruition. And so, the funding for Wardenclyffe dried up, and Tesla's dream collapsed. Chapter 4: The Obsessive Genius. Tesla's obsession with his work was all-consuming. He was not a man driven by wealth or fame. In fact, he didn't seem to care much for either. What drove him was the need to understand the fundamental forces of the universe and to harness them for the betterment of humanity. In his personal life, Tesla was a deeply solitary figure. He never married, and he believed that love and intimacy were distractions from his work. His relationships were minimal, and he spent much of his time in isolation, working tirelessly on his experiments. Tesla's eccentricities only grew with time. He had a penchant for ritual, and he would engage in the strangest habits, walking exactly 33 laps around a city block before entering a building, using precisely 18 napkins to clean his utensils before every meal, and always staying in hotel rooms divisible by 3. Some called these rituals quirks, but for Tesla, they were vital, an attempt to impose order on a world that often seemed chaotic. His mind was constantly whirring with ideas, and these rituals gave him a sense of control. Chapter 5: The Pigeon. As Tesla's fame waned and his financial situation became increasingly dire, he retreated further into himself. His once glorious inventions now seemed to be fading into the past, and his obsession with his work became all-consuming. In his later years, Tesla lived in a small apartment in the New Yorker hotel. Every day, he would go to Bryant Park to feed pigeons. He was particularly fond of one pigeon, a white pigeon, whom he believed shared a special connection with him. Tesla claimed that the pigeon was not just a bird. He said that she had a message for him, one that came from a higher realm of existence. He often spoke of the deep love he felt for her, saying, "I loved that pigeon as a man loves a woman, and she loved me." When the pigeon died, Tesla was heartbroken. He claimed that a part of his soul had left with her. Chapter 6. The Final Years. Tesla's final years were marked by isolation and poverty. His once thriving career had been overshadowed by financial ruin. Yet, despite his struggles, his mind remained as sharp as ever. He continued to work on his theories, his ideas, and his experiments, even as the world seemed to have forgotten him. In 1943, Tesla died alone in his apartment in the New Yorker hotel. His belongings, including hundreds of notebooks filled with his ideas and inventions, were seized by the U.S. government. Some of his papers were declassified, but others remain locked away to this day. What secrets did they contain? Did Tesla, in the final years of his life, hold the key to an entirely new form of energy? Or perhaps a discovery so revolutionary that it was deemed too dangerous for the public to ever know? Chapter 7. The Legacy of Nikola Tesla. Though he passed away in relative obscurity, Tesla's legacy is anything but forgotten. Today, his name is synonymous with innovation, brilliance, and visionary thinking. We live in a world that Tesla envisioned, one where his contributions to electricity, wireless communication, and technology continue to shape our everyday lives. Tesla was a man ahead of his time, and though he may not have seen the full fruits of his labor in his lifetime, his ideas and inventions have become the foundation upon which modern civilization stands. Nikola Tesla's story is not just the tale of a brilliant inventor, it is a reminder of what can happen when a person dares to dream beyond the limits of their time. He once said, "The present is theirs. The future, for which I really worked, is mine." And today, we see that he was right.